Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a blooms failure compilation video. The process is pretty much the same for everyone, so for some of them I will try and explain any changes of product, what the temperature was for each one, and change of technique. For the first two coasters at least, I use Resin's Ocean White, and I'm picking out a couple of colours from my alcohol ink set from a company called Fans Arish. I also need to tell you the backstory of why I have ended up making this video. Of course, I always need to give you my backstory to a certain project. So this isn't just my first bloom for this video, this is my first ever bloom. I've never really been very interested in doing blooms. Everybody seems to do blooms, and I actually find them quite boring, really. Everybody seems to do them the same way, you know, the way they draw in the lines from the outside to the middle, and then in between those lines they draw out to make the point of the petal. And I just find it boring watching basically the same technique over and over again. That's not to say that I don't appreciate a beautiful bloom, but I just like to do my own thing. But there's a lovely lady called Amy, and she has a channel called Resonating Art by Amy M. I'll link her channel and a specific video of hers. So this specific video that I am linking for you is the reason why I am trying my very first bloom. Because it demonstrated to me that you don't have to do it the same way as everybody else. She did a strange swirling pattern. I'm not saying I'm getting it exactly right, but I did try to, from memory, copy roughly how she did hers, and her bloom turned out beautiful. And I commented on that video of hers that she is giving Julie Cuts a run for her money as the Queen of Blooms. If you like blooms, you probably know who I'm talking about. But Amy really is, in my opinion, just as good. Now, here is definitely one of my downfalls. I've been once getting the idea in my head to try a bloom, I've just had to go for it, even though I don't have any piping bags. So quite clearly, probably here, there is a definite problem with me not being able to control how much white is coming out of the cup. So throughout the 10 blooms, I do attempt different ways of putting the white in. I try paper cups, I try using a stick. Yeah, you'll see different techniques I attempt throughout. And here you can see failure number 1. And now I want to try and explain the way that I videoed and then edited the video together. So I recorded 10 separate videos. So there, where you could see 2 squares of paper, I had poured numbers 2 and 3, but I'd recorded separate videos for each of those. So then when I came to demold number 1, I came back to video number 1. So therefore I covered up number 2 and 3 so that I wouldn't spoil the surprise. Now you're seeing me going to pour number 2, and I've recorded on video number 2. So therefore I've covered up number 1 so that I don't spoil the surprise for that one. I hope that makes sense. And just briefly to mention again regarding number 1, unfortunately I don't know what temperature I let the resin go to. I thought I had aimed the heat gun under the camera so that we could see the temperature for each bloom, but I mustn't have aimed it correctly, so I couldn't see it. But it will have been between 32 and 36. That's the temperature range I aimed for, because that's the temperature range I hear other people using. For number 2, I'm using the same products and the same technique. The only thing I'm doing different is trying to get it to a higher temperature than number 1. This one is at 35 degrees Celsius, so number 1 must have been between 32 and 35. And the only other difference is that I'm going to attempt to drop her in the white with a stick rather than pour it in. Okay, let's have a minute of music. And the stick is just not doing enough, I don't think, so I was about to pour some and then changed my mind. And there we have it, failure number 2. Now this is funny. I panicked and thought that I was going to spoil the surprise of number 2, then realised I'm recording video number 3 and you will have already seen the results of number 2. Now, because of the time lapse, you might not see that temperature, but it settled on 37 degrees in the coaster, still on 30 in the white. And just a quick note on that, because I didn't have time to wait for resin to warm up before I could pour each one, I was using a heat gun. So then when I had heat gunned it, I was stirring it a little bit before taking the temperature again in the coaster. I was also taking the temperature of the white separately, and on this one the white was 34, and I've gone back to trying pouring. The coaster resin was at 39 degrees and you can see that the inks are starting to spread, so I thought I was doing well with this one, and so I decided to revert to the more traditional pattern and see whether I have more success, in case me trying to do a fancy pattern was partially the problem. And here we have failure number 3. Okay, so on to number 4, and you'll see that I have 3 cups of resin there. I'm recording 4, 5 and 6 in one batch. They'll still be on separate recordings so that I show you the demold of number 4 before I show you making number 5 and 6. But I mixed up 3 cups of resin so that I can be heat gunning one to get number 4 poured and leave the other 2 to warm up naturally. So I've got a sort of production line going. And we're getting into the realms of repetition now, so I do cut out a good chunk of the recording of each coaster from now on, apart from if I need to explain anything, or if I'm doing a different technique for dropping the white in, for example. We'll do a little bit of time lapse to music, because I do like my little music time lapses. There you go, I got the coaster resin to 35 degrees, the white's still lagging behind a bit at 28 because I haven't heat gunned that, but that's fine. I'm leaving it to warm up by itself while I put some dyes in. And I think this one was the first one where I used the heat gun after putting my colours in. I put the heat gun on it after I'd put the orange and black in, and it looked like it made them start to spread. And as you can see here with the thumbs up, I was liking the look of this one and I was really hopeful. But alas, this is failure number 4. On to number 5, and this time I'm not hiding number 4 because I've realised that you'll have already seen the demould of that one by the time you see me make number 5. Unfortunately, I didn't realise that my camera had zoomed in, and so you can't actually see me make number 5. You're just going to be staring at number 4. So I'm actually going to cut this video here and take us straight through to number 5 demould. So here is number 5 demould. Failure number 5. Okay, on to making number 6, and I start making that while I've still got 4 and 5 in the mould. And again, because I've got it on time lapse, you won't have seen the temperature. It was at 39 degrees Celsius. Using the same colours, I attempt to go back to doing a strange pattern, and I can already see it isn't going to work. I don't know what happened there with the black just ending up overtaking. But then I also end up doing the more common pattern. I don't know what the thought process was with doing the strange swirling with the orange and black, but then after putting the white in, going back to doing the traditional pattern. I can't remember what I was thinking. And so here we have failure number 6. And here we go with number 7. At some point I had remembered that when you pour your resin into your mould, it will cool down again because thinner resin warms up slower. So I'd stopped being concerned with measuring the temperature while it was in the cup, and I was just pouring it into the coaster mould straight after mixing. So I don't know if you saw there, when I first poured it into the coaster mould, it was at 27. And then I'm using my heat gun. I know I've used my heat gun on previous ones as well, but it's at this point that I've consciously made the decision to not worry about the temperature of it at the point when I pour it in the mould. So, as per before, using the heat gun to warm it up until it gets to at least 32. And I've changed my colours again, and I am going to attempt a different pattern. And I'm going to let you listen to some music again, but before I do, to save cutting into the music, I'm just going ahead to say that I'm also more conscientiously heating up the resin again after I've put my colours in the hope of getting the dyes moving more quickly. And so we have failure number 7. And here we go with number 8. And just in case anybody hasn't listened to everything I've said previously, that's number 7 still in the mould there. And I've jumped ahead. The temperature in both the coaster and in the white pot is 37 degrees Celsius. And I'd like to now take the opportunity to thank you for watching the video. Thank you to all my subscribers and to everybody who likes and comments on my videos. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. There's a QR code up there for if you are watching on TV. And there's a QR code there also for buying me a coffee if you feel I've earned it. All donations, no matter how small, are gratefully received and are used on products to continue making videos. And please comment away on this video. Did you like this compilation, even though they are all fails? Do you know what I'm doing wrong? All advice gratefully received. Here comes failure number 8. For number 9 and number 10, I decide to try using mica powders instead of the alcohol inks. And I apologise, I'm half off camera for this one. The white, I got up to 38 degrees and the resin in the coaster was 37. And there you can see that I'm making circles with the white, blue and red in between each other, or sort of in between each other. And then doing the traditional bloom pattern. And then another quick blast with the heat gun. And failure number 9. I'm going backwards. And here we go with number 10. Okay, I decided to try some different types of pots to pour my red and blue out of. And I was showing you there a big mistake. I used the heat gun on them in those little plastic cups and it melted them. And I just showed you that the white has got to 39. The resin in the coaster is 32. And the blue and red were still at 26, 27. So I end up pouring them into some more solid plastic pots so that I can carry on heating them up. I can't get away with heating those other ones up anymore. And not long till the end now, so if I could just remind you again to check out Amy's channel. She's an absolute star with blooms. And we're not too far from the end of the video now, so once number 10 is demolded it will end quite abruptly, but I will put pictures up, so please hang around for the pictures. I will put a photo of all of them, front and back, because as you know probably quite often the backs end up looking better than the fronts. And just attempting a very random pattern this time for my final one. I thought I've got nothing left to lose. After I've put the heat gun on this one, I am very hopeful with this one. Look at the way the inks start to spread. Okay, so as I say, this is going to end fairly abruptly, so this is pretty much my last chance to say thank you so much for watching, and please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have a good week and I hope to see you again next week.